Ah!
The album artwork of Coldplay's Mylo Xyloto was undoubtedly one of the most striking of 2011. So when I found out album artists were producing an exhibition at Proud Galleries featuring and auctioning the artwork to raise money for the charity Kids Company, I knew they were onto a winner. The wall sold to an anonymous bidder for £500,000, while other artworks by Paris and the band and the behind-the-scenes tour photographs raised another £110,000. I headed to Camden when they were hanging the exhibit the day before the star-studded private view to chat to Paris, the Brit artist who collaborated with Coldplay to create the now iconic wall, as well as many other pieces that were on display. So when you were younger, do you ever remember there being artwork that kind of made you go, wow, I need to buy that album, or did you not really pay attention to that?
No, I've always had friends with DJs and musicians, and I always loved, record shops in general. I just loved you don't get so many anymore, but that environment of a record shop and just thumbing through the sleeves. And obviously I'd have friends that'd be buying records, but I'd be checking out, and there's something that's so special about a gatefold cover, that size of artwork. I get, a lot of my favourite albums are seminal, mainly because the artwork's so good as well, and it ties in. I mean, I guess my favourites, just to name a few, are, the Stone Roses covers, because obviously there's a very intimate link with the band there, because they were done, it's all in-house, and it ties into the artwork. The work of Peter Saville, Joy Division and the New Order covers are still outstanding to this day. And there's a couple of other things that kind of stand out. Yeah, the Beatles covers with Peter Blake, and that interaction between an artist and musicians to create something, groundbreaking. I've got some friends who used to work for Warp as well, and Warp have got a really good in-house with Designers Republic, a good in-house style.
If a band came to you and said they didn't want any sort of collaborative thing, they just wanted you to get on with it, or they're just going to direct you what they wanted, would that be quite unappealing to you?
And the appealing briefs are always the ones where people say, we love what you do, just go for it and do it, which is exactly what happened here with Coldplay. It was, and obviously there's a great collaboration with them getting involved in as well. But the briefs I love most, and that I feel are the most beneficial to it for an artist, are when you're just told, go for it. When people put a lot of sort of hurdles in your way, that's the work of a designer to work around that. But as an artist, you just want to be free to do what you do. And the best work comes from that. Well, also, when I was first brought on board, when I was first told who I'd be working with, and I knew quite a lot of their back catalogue, the work of Tapping Gofton as well, their designers since day one pretty much. But a lot of the Viva album was done with, with the band's paintings, but that wasn't graffiti. So when I was told, right, Coldplay and graffiti, initially I did not know how that was going to happen. I mean, I just went with it, and you see the results. But I was initially slightly daunted because it was such a fusion of two things. And until I heard the music, and when you hear the music and what, the band are saying in that, it completely ties in with this. So.
Talking about your time working with the band, who showed the most creative flair, who came out with the exciting ideas, who was fun to work with?
They all did. As you can see from the finished thing, there's an equal amount of everybody in there, and Phil as well. So it was all 6 of us that created that. And also Tapping Gofton also had input. It was art directed, but in a way as it was documented from by Kate Peters, photographer. She documented it all in macro, so in fine detail, every step of the way, the whole evolution of it. And as the band, at first we were all sort of stood there scratching our heads, even I was, because it was just a big, massive, gigantic blank canvas, and we didn't really know where to start. And it wasn't until we really started making a mess, sort of, you know, literally throwing paint around. There are paint bombs we threw at the wall there, and everyone sort of got into their flow, you know, and all the band had, you know, there's like secret messages in there. There are symbols that the band had sort of developed over the time, even when I was working with them. That, you know, when we did the first workshop together, the first drawing and painting workshop, they already had things that they'd been seeing, but I think all of them equally. You know, I couldn't believe their flair. I can't play any musical instruments, but they were just, you know, I mean, graffiti is a very accessible art form like that. If we'd have all been doing oil paintings, we'd have all been in a stick, I think, so...
Was there anyone that found it hard to be messy, though, and let themselves go? Because some people are very precise and almost OCD-like. Was there anyone that stuck out like that?
More me, really. Like, because obviously, you know, I come from as much a graffiti background as an art background. So initially, I'd tend to want to do things, you know, and have a certain finish on them. But from working with the band, I loosened up as much as anything, and then there are elements in there that you can see on like the far right and the far left, you know, the colourful sort of cosmic bits where I got to do my thing, and the band were really like, you know, you've got to, you know, put your mark on it. That's kind of my trademark thing, is that sort of cosmic thing. But, you know, it opened me up to really what I realised has always been the essence of my work, is my love for city surfaces and the texture of the streets and that kind of language that builds up. You know, and from researching this wall, because the whole 2 weeks we were painting it, I was constantly looking at imagery of the Berlin Wall, of you know, documentation from New York in the 70s, and then we were sharing these images, and then kind of reprocessing it all in what you see.
Now, have you discussed with the Coldplay guys of any future artistic collaborations, or is this the end of the journey, or...?
I'm really not sure, because since we did, I mean, I thought we'd just be doing this together, and then literally a week after, I think as we were finishing this wall, I started getting Fender guitars to paint, and actually before we did the wall, I'd already painted Will Champion's drum kit. That was one of the first instruments to be painted, and then Johnny started giving me guitars, and Guy's guitars got done as well, some of them, and then Chris started giving us pianos to do, and it just, mainly with the tour, first the festival tour and then the world tour, my workload has just rolled on, and I haven't had much time to think about it, but you know, so the involvement already from what I thought was just a sort of one-off job, it's already rolled on more than I can believe, you know, and I think just through knowing and working with these guys, doors will open to new things, and there's still talk of tour dates appearing next year, and I keep thinking it's going to end after the last leg, and then it keeps rolling on. So
just go with the flow then.
Yeah, so that's all we've been doing for a year and a half now. Yeah, nearly 2 years.
Ah!